doctor's ideal patient.
She would, because she's really
She follows
disciplined,
Stuff
right?
going on, TCQ and everything. We got too many eyes out here. We need to do it right. Yeah. So,
Okay. That's great.
I have Travis, I've been working with the stupid school.
Well, I think if I can get to it, those carpenters,
Ladies and gentlemen, we're about to start in about a minute or two. Can you please put your phones on silent?
Cheryl,
Thank you.
I can't get to my dog park.
That's not our priority. We're just have lost rate instead.
Yes, ma'am.
To share a microphone.
That's fine, that's fine, that's fine.
I know this renovation about
I have no plan to say
it's
anything.
going to just lead to me.
Do they have that?
What I'll do.
It may be, you're gonna enjoy it.
Where are they? Well, that's good. I'm right over between two guys.
Yeah, because
Are you gonna be with them?
I like your name.
Oh,
No, yours.
these nights, I love that.
I do too.
I'm just, what are you
I was thinking this morning,
I'm gonna have to
get a pedicure before the kids come.
until I can.
I'm not sure, maybe it's already there, I'm not sure why we were doing weekend.
That's the way I do it.
Yeah.
We're about to start. Will you please put your phones on silent, please? Thank you.
They're on the way to the game. Travis, is there anybody else that help you with this besides
Hey,
your mom and dad?
Do what?
Just nobody to pick it up.
Oh, you mean on them?
try that.
Will be helpful.
What of it? The one that already,
Oh, Solis.
all right, I'm going to start out by calling the regular meeting of the Board of Directors of Fort Clark Springs Association to order. I will start out with the pledge. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
honor the Texas flag,
I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state,
under
under
God
God,
and indivisible. We do have a quorum of board members. Welcome, Lisa Vale. This is her first board meeting. Thank you for joining us. All right, has everyone had an opportunity to review the minutes from the March 19th meeting?
Yes.
Do you have a motion?
Second.
All in favor? In one. One abstention. Robert, the secretary's report.
We have just a couple of correspondence. The first one says, Sherry in Fort Clark Springs. On behalf of Kenny County Church Alliance, thank you for all of your assistance in making the Easter sunrise service a meaningful occasion for our community. The quarry was a beautiful setting as usual. The coffee and goodies was totally unexpected. Thanks for making sure the area was so welcoming. Gratefully, Sally Stridling. And then we have another one from the Community Council. Member comments. There were 7 members in the audience. There weren't any comments or any matters of concern. My personal thought is, this is submitted by Kathy Warm. My personal thought is that Alan does a very good job having the town hall meetings to quell any rumors and letting members know what is happening. That's why we don't get as many complaints as in the past. Thank you, Kathy.
All good?
That's it.
All right. We'll move into the treasurer's report now.
Already?
Yes, we're good. Well,
All right, this is my first one, so go easy on me. All right, our motel revenue. I have 2 different reports here. For 2022 is $48,606.15. For 2021, we were at $20,153. So we were up 141%, which pretty much all know why with DPS here. That's really been a boom for us.
Lisa, hold on one second. Is it going backwards? Is
Yeah, I think so. We're getting some audio over here.
I get it wrong?
See, this is what happens when I don't have my technology-driven niece to do this for us. Okay. I don't know how to get rid of it.
Yeah, it's time.
What do you want to do with it, Travis? Because I'm having issues, just don't do it?
Yes, if it's gonna have that feedback, then we'll just have to not.
Okay.
Do I need to repeat that, or are we okay?
No, you can start from where you left off.
Okay. So for March, our total income is $205,561, which is up 22% from last year. Our total expenses are $206,345, which is down 2% from last year. Total depreciation, bad debt is $10,547.
Income.
I'm sorry. Oh, I'm so sorry. Okay. Before bad debt and depreciation, $10,547. Year to date, our income is $1,263,627, which is up 6% from last year. Our total expenses is $1,247,069, which is down 8%. Our net income and loss before depreciation and bad debt is $91,937, which is up 142% since last year. We have $2,234.78 that's owed to preservation. The checking account balance is $136,493.75. The credit card account is $126,579.59. And the money market account is $9,295.11, which is in the community bank. In bank and trust and the restricted fund, what? You wrote this one.
We've never transferred the amount from the restricted, so the one on the right is what's supposed to be.
The one on the right?
Yeah, restricted fund and then reservation.
Okay. Restricted fund is $383,747.04. The general fund is $188,279.38. Preservation is $26,126. Our total balance is $870,520.87. I will note that although we are a lot better, we're even better than that with the fact that we have budgeted our taxes in, so the $70,000 in assessments, if you were to subtract that from last year's income, would make an even bigger difference.
Thank you. And so the note that Lisa just gave there at the end, if you look on your P&L that was provided in the back, so on the third column, the total change, it's listed as $53,958 as net operating income. The last year's balance had an additional $70,880 in it from the special assessment. So although we're $54,000 better than we were last year, we're actually $54,000 plus the 70 because we didn't go out and ask everyone for a special assessment. So that's the change that's going on. I think that might be the first applause that's ever come during a treasurer's report. All right, we'll move into Mr. Peterson's report.
One additional thing, of those totals, there's $6,154 that will be, it's a variance that will be going to capital expense from operating, and that's for the renovation of 3 rooms that was completed. And the only other
Can't
bill,
hear you.
there's $6,154.29. Let's see if this works. $6,154.29 that will be transferred to the capital account because it is a renovation of 3 rooms. And the only other variance that's on there is the difference in gas and oil prices from last year. This year we spent $6,457. Last year we spent $3,483. Part of that is because of the fact I had 2 additional tanks filled up at the golf course just for the hedge on the fact that gas prices were going up so much, and the fact that gas prices have gone up 30% since last year anyway. So that's the difference there. We've had, obviously, the biggest thing that's happened that we have to pay attention to is the situation at the pool in the spring. We've been going over really the solutions that are there with the Las Moras Preservation Committee, and that's Chris Hale, Russell, Noel, Tim Ward, Linda, I'm not sure who else is involved, but those 3.
We know.
Yeah, and Lena, those 3 are the ones that are looking at the structural issues and seeing what we can do. There's not much we can do as far as putting water in it until we have rain. But while we have this down, we are looking at the feasibility of where we can stop the leaks that have made the pool more efficient even when it's operating well. So we're looking at everywhere, both in the spring and in the pool, of what we can do. We've had some historical engineers looking at it and let us know what we can do there. As long as we can get in there and not and try to do some repair while it's down. So we're going to utilize this time to do as much as we can. We also have 2 major additions in golf. Steve Crum is now our golf course operations manager. Steve already in 2 weeks has exceeded anything I expected. He's already come up with SOPs for working on the golf course, both in the pro shop as well as on the maintenance side. He's also hired a lot of new staff for the pro shop. So he's progressing real well. He can't be here today because he has a golf tournament out there. So, but if you go out and see him, you'll be pretty impressed what's going on. Our recreation department, we have Amos Trissler. Amos is here. He's our new manager for our recreation department, which we feel like it's about time to start going. Our equipment has come in. As far as our fitness equipment for the Mendelssohn Activity Center, the Adult Center and the RV Park will also be areas where Amos will be working on recreation programs. Maintenance, if you've noticed, on Chandler Road, we've pretty much almost cleaned up all the lots there, or at least taken the buildings out. The final cleanup's not done yet. We are working on getting proposals and engineering studies on the landfill. Our guys since we don't need to mow grass, which we probably will after this week, we've been working on some of the trail maintenance. And if you went to the amphitheater for Easter, we actually have bathrooms that work there now. So we've made some headway. Security, you'll see a lot of new signage. New gates that have gone up with signage on those also, as well as one of the comments is made, what do we do with all the issues with illegal activities going on in the fort? And we are working with DPS, since we have sort of a tie with DPS right now, and I think you'll see a lot of, and I'm going to put this out there to let the people that are doing what they're not supposed to do, we're coming after them. You know, so we're going to get them off the fort one way or the other. They might as well understand that. Our hunt program will be covered a little later as far as what we're trying to achieve with the hunt and trapping. If you see our courtyard out here, this is being done by volunteers. Jacqueline Lewis, Linda, Travis, Christina Bitter, some National Honor Society people are helping us clear this out and make it more of a nice courtyard to have activities out here. We have an energy audit scheduled with one of our energy companies Tuesday and Wednesday. I have an arborist that will be here Wednesday and Thursday to go looking at all of our trees and actually treat some of them. And as far as the road repair on Fairway Circle, I have sent an email to MUD and have received no response. So, or at least no response to me. I think they may have talked to Travis. That's it.
Thank you. As far as the Fairway Circle goes, there are 3 metrics that are put out by MUD each month, and there's 2 metrics that revolve around the actual wells that they have, and the last metric is on their system as a whole. So from the wellhead to your meter, at this point, they have to release a number that tells you what their leakage percentage is. So MUD's contention at the moment, during my conversation with them, was that because that rate is at 40%, meaning that they lose 40% of the water that they pump from the well before it hits your meter, that is their focus, and so they will get to Unit 27 when they get to Unit 27. That was what was relayed to me. So remember, they work for you. You are all MUD customers. Their meetings are on Wednesday at 9 a.m. down at the MUD deal on the third Wednesday of the month. I think it's time we start showing up down there. 40% is a very high leakage rate. So 46%, excuse me, I was giving them a little grace. 46%.
So by the way, that place on Fairway Circle just continues to sink.
Yes, and if we don't start showing up, we will not be the priority to be down there. So I've attended 2 MUD meetings in the last year. I've had one other person go another time, and one other person was there this last meeting. So that's a total of 4 people that have ever shown up for these meetings that I've been to. So we need to start going down there and paying attention. They're elected officials, or should be elected officials. That's another piece that we'll work through over time. But we need to start holding them accountable, because a 46% leakage rate is not acceptable. And most of those pipes are here on the fort. Well, all those pipes are here on the fort, because the only other work that they do is for the city, and they treat some of the wastewater from there. Also, they're bringing in money, and it's on their P&L from treating the water at the National Guard RV park in Del Rio. So there's funds out there to get this done. We just gotta start holding them accountable. So, much like last meeting, when I asked, that we start making our presence known in the community. This is one area that we really need to step up and start talking to them about what we want to see and how we want this to go forward, because if we don't start doing that, we're gonna have more issues like we have out in Unit 27 where the roads caved in, because that's from a leak. So where else is it leaking? Under what other roads is it leaking? I don't know. All right, committee reports. We have one from the airport. Nope, no airport. Okay, architectural.
Okay, yeah, I have one.
Okay.
Okay, we're still looking for committee members anywhere between 2 and 4. We've approved and reviewed approximately 12 permits and 5 to 6 violations. We've sent 3 variances to the board. Members are doing great, asking questions and submitting more thorough applications. Thanks, Phoebe Boardwalk.
What happened to the violations?
As far as fines or,
So
What is
That's
the
why,
violation?
that is why you had 2 trailers taken out of Unit 15 this week. Because they were cited for violations and they went ahead and pulled them out. So things like that, we are following up on all of them.
So last month, the board was given an SOP around the violations, and that will be reviewed again in executive session, and it will be submitted to the membership to let everyone know exactly how the violation process works. And the reason that we're being so thorough around how we put this process in place, and I'm gonna jump back to the treasurer's report, that we didn't cover one piece of this, and because it's not a standard deal, but a year ago, we went and we were very thorough about putting our process in around collecting member assessments. And this last month in March of 2022, we collected $42,000 in back assessments. 28,000 of that was 120 days old, which means that was a long time coming. So an extra $42,000 came in. If we are as thorough with our violation protocol as we are with our collections report, or with the collections that we're doing now, I think you're going to see a big change around the force. So we're putting a lot of time in reviewing that and having security go through what they're capable of helping us with, and the rest of us will review that and get that out to the membership. So that's what will happen with violations. Is there a golf report?
yes, nobody
Nope.
here.
Anyone from the golf committee?
I have one here.
Okay, I have this one.
That's it.
That's it.
The golf committee conducted their largest annual tournament, the Hoagie Nelson Las Mores Memorial Tournament, the weekend of March 19th and 20th. There were 45 teams that participated. They came from as far away as El Paso, Texas to Devine. The Nelsons, who participate every year, came from Colorado. Several locals volunteered to monitor key holes on the golf course during the tournament, as well as serve the meal that was provided Saturday night. Local ladies donated desserts. We love our volunteers. They help keep our tournaments running smoothly and players coming back. All leftovers, uncut desserts, were donated to the meals served to the local law enforcement last week at the Service Club. The golf committee met and voted to sponsor two $1,000 scholarships to Brackett High School students who will be attending accredited colleges or trade schools. The deadline to submit as applications for a scholarship is May 16, 2022. Information is available at the high school counselor's office. This weekend, April 23rd, is our second largest tournament, the Cajun Bass Shrimp Boil. After tournament play, a meal of boiled shrimp will be served. This is a fun tournament for side games at various holes on the course and mulligans for purchase. The proceeds from this benefit tournament go towards bettering of our golf course here at Fort Clark. Tournaments are scheduled throughout the coming months. Respectfully submitted, Katie Brown, Secretary.
Preservation?
Good
This is preservation report for April 2022. Preservation Committee met on April 13th at 3 p.m. in the boardroom. 2 repair proposals for the Service Club and the Post Theater were presented to the full committee for discussion. It was noted that additional damage was found on at least 10 windowsills on the east and north sides of the Service Club. These must be fixed as soon as possible to avoid more damage to the siding on those walls. And of course, I was one of the people that did this, and there were some holes in the windowsills that were like quarter to 50 cents in size. And it's hard to examine these unless you go inside the club and open all the windows to look, and that's what we did. This is causing a lot of problems when we do have some rain, if we ever do again, and some moisture it gets down. That's where the corrosion or the rotten wood is coming from, down in the wall, the siding. That's from this situation, I think. Repair proposal on the Post Theater includes refastening all the vertical storm drains, placing bad wood on the front, and tackling the underside ceiling of the marquee to avoid future safety and structural issues. If anybody's looked at that underside ceiling on the marquee, it's kind of scary. So that's in this repair proposal. Inspection and minor leak repair on the roof of the marquee is also included in the theater repair proposal. The replacement of the west side double doors will be done on a separate proposal after thorough inspection both inside and out. We've got to get the keys and go in there and open those side doors into the basement area thing, and do a thorough inspection on that before we get a repair proposal for it. After much discussion on the 2 repair proposals, full committee voted to accept them and for the treasurer to start work on acquiring funds for the 2 jobs. Submitted respectfully, H. and Bitter.
Thank you.
Any questions?
We're good. Thank you.
Thank you.
Whichever one you'd like to start with.
This is recycle, good morning. We sent a load in January, and we had a partial payment because they forgot that we also sent plastic bags. So that first payment was $404, and finally I got the check this week for another $244. So our total, which is profit, was $648, and that's from the January shipment. We met with Lady Rachel from Keep Texas Recycling this week. She came down from Austin, and this is the main thing here is we shipped 53 tons in last year, which is the most we've ever shipped, ever. So, yeah, count them by the 2,000 pounds. So the next thing, probably 3 weeks from now, we'll be shipping again. But again, that load is gonna, who knows what, because every month the prices change. And that truck is gonna cost us $592, so we may not have a profit from that one. We're thinking of getting, or at least applying for a grant from Rio Grande Electric. They have a community development grant program. So we need a small compactor baler in the recycle center, so we could do some of the load that maintenance is doing. Maintenance does cardboard and #1 plastic bins. So we're going to see that grant goes in the end of June, and we won't find out anything until the annual meeting, which will be October. So maybe. So That's all I know.
And then, one side note there, when we met with Rachel, she told us that Del Rio, in their collection facility, they only collect 10 more tons than a year than our volunteers collect on Thursdays and Saturdays. So they're doing a pretty good job of collecting stuff. That's pretty impressive within a city of 100,000 people only collects 10 more tons than what we're collecting in a county of 3,000. So, y'all are doing a wonderful job, thank you.
Yeah, that's thanks to, I don't know, I think we probably have 20 people working, so. Let's see, this is the Las Moras restoration report from Chris Hale. And I think Alan probably gave us most of it, but this is what he sent, okay? Repair and replacement to the inlet gate and steel grate was completed. Next phase of sidewalk repair is imminent. We also purchased seam joint repair material. It's very specialized stuff which was specified by a consulting engineer firm after analyzing samples of the original seam material to ensure compatibility. We'll soon start these repair efforts while the pool is empty. In the last few weeks, the committee has been very active in working to diagnose issues related to the spring pond wall leak and breaks in the inlet fill pipes. In this regard, we've been in close contact with 3 different engineering firms and others to assist Fort Clark Springs with decisions needed for speedy repairs to the spring enclosure wall, while the low spring level makes repairs feasible.
Community council report?
Oh.
Oh, that one's yours too, okay. I'm gonna contact all the other committees and have them send it to you. That way
I'll
we
just
can-
keep, do my tap dance here.
I have to get you different outfits.
Oh, boy. Okay, this is board notes from April 9th. The meeting was called to order by myself with 5 members present. That's kind of interesting because 5 members were present and the board consists of 5, so we're hoping that more people come. We had a moment of silence followed by the Pledge of Allegiance. Secretary's report of March 12th was approved by email and posted on our website. Treasurer's report of March 31, 9,004, and this is profit from Fort Clark days, $9,425.48. The community council account had 1,079, and they're posted also on the website. Fort Clark Days 2022 had the profit, as I said, thanks to Natanya Watkinson was chair and the many volunteers that worked. We voted to keep $7,500 in the Fort Clark Days account for next year's Fort Clark Days. We're about to purchase 2 more canvas flies, cost about $1,000 for next year, and to allow 200 for items needed for the ladies' tea. The remaining money is transferred to the community council account. Donated soda and water will remain locked up. Fort Clark Days 2023 already has chairs for all the committees. That's amazing. Chairperson or co-chairperson is still needed, and Jacqueline Lewis may consider doing the job but hasn't decided. Natanya Watkinson is willing to offer guidance. Kathy will contact Allison Watkinson for scheduling ghostly tours, which is a good moneymaker. And we hope to bring back the haunted house and scary ghosts. We're going to apply, as I mentioned, for recycling. we're going to apply for that grant program for the compactor baler. And because it needs a 501c3, it's under the guidance of Community Council. Bill and Sandy Herman suggested checking on another rural site for grant money. No other concerns were heard, and our next meeting is May 14th, 10 o'clock here.
One question, at the inception of Fort Clark Days, that was a festival that was put on to let the community know what was going on with the fort and how things have progressed here and what we've been able to preserve. And in the past, money has been donated to the Preservation Fund from the proceeds of Fort Clark Days.
Right.
In 2023, is there a goal or a plan that you're trying to hit to bring money back to preservation? I know that there's been things that have happened in the past where, there hasn't been as much money raised, and so there hasn't been enough funds to donate to preservation. Is that in the intent for 2023 or no?
No intent. That 60-40 split, it was 60 for preservation, whatever profit, 60% went to the Preservation Society, is it society?
No.
Yeah,
And
preservation.
40% went back to Community Council. And that program was a 5-year program.
Okay.
And it stopped, I believe, in 2018. The next year or so, they didn't have Fort Clark Days because of the pandemic. And so right now, Fort Clark Days, with all of the costs, amounts to about $8,000 straight up. And so we hope that the various companies and people donate in order to pay all the expenses. So no intention at this point for preservation. And I think I hear that there's quite a bit of money there, but I'll bring it up to the board again. But I guess the first question is, how much money does preservation have again? Was it 100 something?
26,000,
46?
26.
26?
I believe so.
Yeah.
But I believe they
26.
have 9 buildings in their purview, and
Yeah.
$26,000 on a historic building doesn't go very far.
Right, exactly. Let me bring it up to the board and see. I mean, I just reported the amounts of money that was collected, and we'll see.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, sure.
She's probably not aware, but the 2 canvas flies have arrived at my house,
Oh,
and they will be delivered to Shafter Hall where the storage is for 4 o'clock day stuff.
Okay.
They're here.
All right, thank you. Alright, so tabled items. So, the wastewater treatment area, as I reported last time, there was in March, there was a meeting between TCEQ and an interested party that was contesting the wastewater treatment permit. We have still not received what we would call a fair lease for our land. So we're still working through that, and we're gonna let this play out until we get something that works for the membership and for the utility district. Discussion items, fire truck restoration. Do you have do we have that document? Okay. Is anyone here, Rick Oliver, Mike Palmer? No? Okay. So we've had a proposal to go through a restoration project for the 1941 fire engine that is owned by the fort. I'll open it up for discussion at this point. If anyone has any thoughts, but we don't have Rick Oliver or Mike Palmer here. Okay. Yes.
I know at one time that the Military Vehicle Preservation Group that comes to Fort Clark Days was interested in doing something. Are they part of the discussion, or have they been contacted?
I'm not aware, that is not listed in this proposal, but that, thank you for bringing that up. And if we could get that contact info, if you would send that to Robert, that would be great, because that's what we need. And I do have a few thoughts on this, and I'll share them at this point. We have a lot going on here on the port. And restoring a 1940 fire engine takes a lot of time and a lot of money. I would estimate that because of the specialty items that you're going to need, quick off the top of my head, $50,000 to $75,000, and I don't think that that's a good use of our funds at this point. I think getting it in an area where it's being preserved simply by not weathering further, that's probably the extent of what we need to be doing. But other than that, I don't think that this is a project that we need to take on at this time.
My first question is we say we own it, but do we have legal paperwork saying that this is titled to Fort Clark Springs?
Also a good point. It does say Fort Clark on the door, so I'm going to say it's ours. But do we have the title to it? No, that's actually a pretty good question.
The person that that's heading this is Warren Thompson, and he explained to me that it's not gonna cost a fort a dime. They're requesting to move it over to the firehouse so they can restore it. I believe Mr. Oliver, who's from Pennsylvania, has all the parts, and they're trying to get somewhat of an approval to do it, because those parts and all that stuff, they're gonna get off an old fire truck in Pennsylvania, they're gonna get it off, they're gonna transport it down here and put it onto this old truck.
So the truck that Mr. Oliver has in Pennsylvania, what year is that truck?
I don't know.
So 1983.
Otherwise, but this person is donating all of this stuff.
The parts from a 1983 fire engine will not and cannot go on a 1941 fire engine.
Are they trying to get it to run or to be, just
It's-
to look at?
Yes, sir.
What did the proposal, I think maybe Memo answered my question, the proposal's not asking for money, they're just asking for permission to spend their own
Correct.
time and their own effort to do this,
No, they're
correct?
asking for permission to play with our fire truck.
Right,
And I don't think
which
that
we don't
that's
do anything with, other than right now just having it set, right?
correct.
Well,
So-
where is it?
It is
I've never
currently
seen
located
maintenance.
in our maintenance area in the motor pool,
Is it undercover?
No?
partially.
Partially.
If we were going to actually look at restoring it, you wouldn't want to restore it with parts that, in my opinion, you want it to be worth something. And if it's a 1941 fire truck, then we want to try to find parts that are compatible or that are original for this 1941, so that when you do put it in a parade or you do teach kids with it, it's actually what it was. Like, I wouldn't pass that off as a Conestoga wagon in by any way, shape, or form, because it's not, you know. But I'm just saying, if we're gonna restore it, we're gonna take the time to fix it, we need to do it right, not do it halfway and say, look what we did. So I appreciate their offer, but I wouldn't support it until we had more information, a title for one, because like I said, who wants to put money into it to find out that it's gonna get taken away from them?
You might have to just do a special application, the titles might have been different in the 40s, I don't know.
Yeah, and that is a good one. We need to look at to see this time. Yes, ma'am.
Is it something that would be more appropriate to be managed under the Historical Society?
I would think that would
Like
be
as
a proper place for it, depending on
Because
its age and
Aren't they the ones that are doing any of the other restoration?
the wagons. Yes.
There is
Pieces
some
of
interest,
equipment we
And I believe that there is interest from the Historical Society as well. Yes, sir?
I think that maybe discussing this right now is a little premature if the individuals that submitted the proposal aren't here to defend or to talk about their vision for this. The board obviously has some ideas on it. Seems to me the board is already prejudiced against it or not interested in it. But maybe hearing from the individuals concerned might clear up some of your concerns before we create a groundswell of negative opinion without having the people who wrote the proposal here to defend it.
That's a very valid point, and they were all invited and did not show up.
For clarification, I'm for it. I think it's a great idea.
Call them and
And as long as it doesn't cost the port money, I think we should do it.
And to clarify, I don't care if it costs us money. As a matter of fact, I'd rather see if it belongs to us, that we foot the bill so that we have complete control over it. I hate to piecemeal things out into volunteer groups and then we, the association and the members of the association, lose control of our historic items. That's what bothers me. If we continue to let other people or committees run these things and we lose control of them, then we can't preserve them.
I do believe there was a significant amount of conversation on this before the individual who wrote this left.
There was.
So Warren is already gone because he's a Winter Texan, is that right?
Warren is not a member of Fort Clark Springs.
I know, but he's on here, that's just why I was asking when it was said that
And
nobody's
that's-
here, so I was just clarifying that. I don't know enough, other than I know there was discussion of it being done at the firehouse, which I don't know what kind of room there is in there, since that's also our volunteer work area staging point. But I do think that it does warrant revisiting it when more parties are here and, maybe more information can be provided.
And in the meantime, it probably, if it's not completely covered, a tarp or something over it, because I would hate to see it sit there and deteriorate.
Sure.
How long has it been out there?
The one thing about it, this is not a proposal. It says it's a proposal. This is just a vision. And there is absolutely no vision of exactly what the specs are they're going to be doing it with, what the money is they're going to put into it, exactly how they're going to achieve what they're trying to do. I mean, when you're redoing an asset of the fort like that, you have to spell out what you're going to do. And that's not what's done there.
So I think that, this is brought up as a discussion item. This document was submitted to us. I do think, as it was mentioned from the membership, that this warrants discussion when these parties are available. Our meetings are the same time each month, so when they're available, they're more than welcome to bring this back to us. And I think that we have some homework to do on our own before that time.
I've got an example possibly of restoration by some of these same individuals. We have a horse-drawn machine gun cart that we used during World War I. It's in our museum. It's one of our most recent additions to the museum. It was restored in the basement of the commissary building by Russell and Warren and some other individuals. Now that's not a comparison to a fire truck as far as the complications go, but they searched for months and months just to find the correct wheels for this stupid thing, because it's, not saying stupid, it's a very particular kind of piece of equipment, and at least on that particular job, Warren was real dedicated to helping find the correct wheels to go on this thing, and they did do a beautiful job of restoring it. So I'm just saying this in defense of Warren to a degree anyway, but it's I know the fire truck's a much more complicated situation.
Mr. Thompson is also responsible for bringing the parts that were needed to bring up that pulley that's being used now at the commissary as
Exactly,
well.
that's another class he was in.
And I believe he was the non-member of the year last year as well. So he's got a reputation of being a hard worker and very diligent about his product.
I think the crux of the problem is we don't want to use the parts from an '83 fire truck. I mean, I'd be honest about it, that's it in a nutshell.
Well, and again, we have a lot of homework to do, and on our side to make sure that we have the title. It sounds like that, listening to the individuals that have put this together in a more detailed and thorough fashion would be the most appropriate thing moving forward.
So, based upon our capital expenditures budget that we've got projects to work on, isn't this thing so far down the list that it's probably never going to be discussed?
That would be at the top of the list of discussion items if it were to come back up.
Except they're saying they're funding it themselves.
Right, somebody else is willing.
Yeah, it's not gonna cost.
But I
We're
would
probably
still
never
think,
going to put the money in.
whether it costs the fort a dime or not, I would like to very much know the budget that they envision to see what it costs, because when I spoke to them, they thought $10,000 to $20,000, and having restored classic cars of this age, that ain't gonna happen. I can tell you that. Any other comments? Yes.
Isn't that also an insurance piece, when it is restored?
Yeah, that would then
It's
go on
one of
our,
our insurance items.
Well, yeah, it's gonna, for it to be driven off of Ford, it's gonna have to have a title and a license. And that's gonna be one of the hardest things. It can be driven on Ford.
I even think liability insurance just for stealing it.
One quick question, Mr. Peterson, how long has it been sitting out there, just out of curiosity?
15
Been here
years,
longer than me, I have no idea.
15, 20 years.
It's just been sitting in the same spot rotting away?
I think we moved it back under the,
They actually moved it back under, yeah.
back under a little bit more. I'm not sure where it was before.
And to the best of your knowledge, no one's wiped it down or done anything with it? Anything at all?
We secured some of the loose stuff on it, so it wouldn't go missing, that's about it.
Okay, thank you.
Any other comments? Yes, ma'am.
Couldn't it be used as a advertising, like?
If restored properly, yes, I think it would be a great thing that we could use across the state and across the country if we ever needed to advertise that way. Yes, I think it could be, and that's why it needs to be done in the most appropriate fashion. If there's no other comments, we'll move on to the next item, which is the employment of spouse teams.
You know, we're looking at a period of time right now that everything we have, our biggest shortage is finding people to work. And a lot of times, if we're gonna start recruiting people in management positions, as far as that, even if we open up a restaurant, if we open up any of our management positions, if you go to RV parks, if you go pretty much campgrounds, a lot of hotels are all working with spousal teams. And that's something that we don't have the option to do now, but it may be something that we want to open up as far as our policies and procedures for the Fort to be able to hire that situation.
And the spousal team, I guess, area is covered in what, is it in our bylaws?
Then our
Employee manual?
employee manual.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. I'm just trying to figure out where the problem
That's
is,
what
to
it
figure
is.
how do we,
It's
you know, if it's
an
in,
employee manual.
Okay.
And it's, you know, I don't even have a candidate for it, but it's something that we may want to look into. And that's, when I'm looking at work camper and stuff like that, which is, and I know I have two friends of mine from the hotel business, but that's what they do, is they go around and basically manage places for 2 or 3 months at a time. And they have excellent background, or even up to 6 months. And they do a sort of a trade-up for management team. And you get experienced people, whether it's an electrician, whether it's a plumber, or something like that, but they stay at the RV park. And they basically work 10 to 20 hours a week and give donating their skills, as well as the situation that, okay, there are some places where my mother stays that they hire teams to manage that resort lifestyle living place.
Microphone.
Yes.
Microphone.
Oh,
Sorry.
sorry.
Very interesting. It's just hard to hear back here. Yeah.
Well, it's, you know, there are a lot of, especially retirement areas that independent lifestyle living, that almost all are managed by teams, spousal teams. So it's possible that for our labor in the future, especially in the restaurant area, that we work on hiring spousal teams that can do something like that. But under our current employee practices, we cannot do that. So we need to look into being able to open that up.
Is it mandatory that be a spousal team? Could it be an individual? I mean, I've seen it at the national parks, there are singles who do nothing but move from one place to another,
Yeah.
back and forth.
No, that's already
that
what
was
we
just
can
an
do.
example. Yeah.
It's
that-
just a matter of, we
Anybody
can't
who-
hire a spouse under our present employee practices.
Okay, so that would be available as well.
Yeah,
Is it within the same department currently?
right, that's what I'm saying, is if I hired a chef, it's very possible in the food and beverage business that your chef is married to a manager for an on-the-floor, front-end manager for a restaurant. I mean, that is something you're gonna find constantly. And if we get to that point, I want to get to the situation, we cannot hire somebody in that situation. Because we're gonna be scrambling for that kind of help. And coming from the food and beverage business, our spouses are married into it just as much as we are. So by not being able to hire them, that means if they need to work, they may have to go to Del Rio or Hugh Valley to work. And that's sort of losing a very good resource that we may be able to find.
Correct in a lot of remote locations.
Right, I mean,
Right.
when you're in a remote location,
There's no way around it, you end up with it, we never had any trouble with it.
right, so,
Currently, can we hire somebody in the front office and hire the spouse to work in maintenance?
yes, we can.
That's
Okay,
what's happening.
but you're just looking at.
I'm looking I'm gonna have to open up a restaurant.
Right.
And there's absolutely, I don't think any way I can get by without having this option open. Yeah, and it's whether it could be in golf in a clubhouse, it could be, front office and housekeeping, things like that. Those are areas that you get good manager, and usually the managers in hospitality business, the spouses are a part of it too. They know what it's like. My wife and I ran a hotel and restaurant I owned for 12 years. We're still married, so it can be done. We only live 1,200 miles apart, but it's just something that probably needs to be looked into, and maybe we may need to put that in or open that up.
I think we had some, yes, sir.
Yeah, actually, my mom and dad before, once they kind of retired, they were campground managers. They started out, they did Big Bend and Seminole in exchange for, and also for over a decade, they were with American Land and Leisure. They were campground hosts at national parks, and they were the campground managers, and then they had spousal teams that were in each of the separate camps. And that worked really well.
Any other-
I'm sorry.
Go.
How does the employee manuscript read now that we have to change it?
They cannot report directly to their manager. So in other words, it wouldn't, if I hired a quote food and beverage director, I couldn't hire a chef that's their spouse.
But that's how it's written in
Right.
the manual?
Right.
So that needs to be changed then.
Well, our manual needs to be
Our
updated.
manual needs to be
Updated.
updated quite a bit, but this is just a concept I wanted to introduce.
Oh, okay.
So,
Yes, ma'am.
So this would be separate, so we would talk about spousal teams and have like a description of what would be required.
Oh, we still
And
have
that's
job
separate.
descriptions.
And
Yes.
that, yeah, but I'm just saying that the term spousal team would now become a kind of employment. And it would be separate, it'd be a separate kind of employment from the discussions of nepotism or,
That's a
any of those other kinds of
possibility.
discussions. I mean-
That's what's done in a lot of RV parks.
Did you have a contract that's a spousal team?
Maybe an agreement.
It'd be an
Have to
agreement.
stay away from contracts.
And it's a matter of, no matter what, it's gonna open up some issues that you may have some, but as long as you have strong employee practices and procedures, I don't think it's gonna be, I don't think the general manager, executive officer can do it. In other words, I couldn't hire my wife doing something here, but I think as long as the head of it's okay, then you can actually hire teams for some of the other areas. That's a possibility.
Essentially, the management team is a single entity, really. It's maybe two different jobs they're doing,
Yeah.
but they're a single entity.
So, just a thought. Nothing for action now, okay?
Nobody's pending.
So I think that, there's obviously some understanding of the membership that this stuff happens and some history with that. And we know that this is what's currently in our employee handbook. I think the recommendation from the board would be to let's start working on language that can be presented to the members